Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, he's Brett, I'm Matt, and this is going to be our NBA Finals preview between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So there's been 8 days here. We've had the whole sports world has had to sit there and ponder this matchup, and I gotta say it feels to me like they're like people are kind of reaching for things to discuss at this point. But without further ado, we'll kind of jump into it. So just right off the bat, how do you feel about this matchup between the Cavs and the Warriors?
I think if you watch the full season, you'd almost say it's an obvious who's going to win. Golden State's been the best team pretty much all season, and the Cavs weren't even the one seed in the East. So that I think just on that, it doesn't make it like too hard of a prediction, and I think we'll probably both lean that the same way here in the end when we end up making our predictions. But at the same time, the way that the Cavs are playing now, I mean, they might be playing some of their best ball of the season. They only went 12-2 through the East. Granted, it's the East, but 12-2 is still impressive. Point differential has been great. Defense has been phenomenal. So even though it's obviously a full season thing, I don't know how often the best team every year always wins the championship. Maybe it happens a little more in basketball because their playoff series, best of 7, kind of helps that out a little bit. But at the same time, you can't discount any of the way that teams are playing now, and the Cavs are playing really impressively.
They are. I mean, they hit on. I mean, the Cavs have been playing really good through the playoffs. I mean, Golden State hasn't been playing as good in the playoffs as they did throughout the regular season. Their defense hasn't been as good as it was, and they've actually slowed down the pace a little bit. Part of that was obviously taken from the Memphis game or Memphis series, and obviously when they went against the Rockets, it was more up-tempo again. So things do tend to slow down a little bit in the playoffs, so. But with that said, we'll kind of get into some topics here. So we'll go through our each team their 3 keys to victory. So I'll start with I'll start with Golden State and my 3 keys for their victory. Number 1, they got to play a little better defense. I mentioned it before that their defense had kind of been lacking in the playoffs so far. They're going to need to tighten down on open shooters, and if they do that, they'll as long as they can start getting a hand in people's face, it'll make J.R. Smith and hopefully guys like Iman Shumpert come back down a little bit and obviously not shoot the 3 ball as well. Another key for Golden State, you mentioned defense. They're going to have to figure out a way to contain LeBron James. Obviously, Draymond Green is an excellent defensive player, and if I was in their situation, that's exactly what I would do. It could be a really fun series from matchup points because there are times last series where the Cavs actually put LeBron at the center at the 5 position, and I know that there are times where Golden State will do that with Draymond Green. So it's kind of unique that they have a guy that can match up with LeBron like that, and Draymond Green's going to have to really try and contain LeBron. Obviously, if LeBron's averaging close to a triple-double in this series again, it'll obviously not probably bode well for Golden State. So obviously contain LeBron. And then my third factor is kind of the health of the Splash Brothers. I mean, the last series, Klay Thompson ended up getting hurt with a concussion, and obviously we all know what happened with Steph Curry in his fall. I mean, those guys have got to be, healthy and on the court and, making big-time shots. And as long as they're at full strength, everything else, hopefully, if you can contain LeBron, everything else will work itself out. But those are my 3 keys for the Golden State Warriors. What are yours?
Well, I'm going to kind of hit on a couple of yours. Well, they're kind of Golden State's, kind of Cleveland's. It's going to be, I think, you mentioned Draymond Green on LeBron and, maybe playing LeBron occasionally at the 5 if you want to go like super small, or have Tristan Thompson be the 5 if you're going small ball if you're Cleveland, because obviously the Golden State Warriors offense, if they kept 2 bigs in the game for Cleveland, pick and rolls, and then switch it. If they switch, it's not gonna help out Cleveland at all. So I think that will be kind of fun. But I think if Cleveland wants to play small ball, it's almost inviting kind of what Golden State wants to do, because like you said, they have a guy in Draymond Green who, it doesn't really matter if they're going to put Tristan at the 5 or LeBron at the 5. He can bang down with them defensively and hold his own. And a guy like Harrison Barnes, despite looking kind of slender, is actually pretty good defender as well. And he can guard anywhere from realistically, if you wanted to, the 2 through the 5. So I think for them it's kind of a bonus. Hey, Fido. But anyway, for my keys, I think stopping the offensive glass for Golden State, right? Because Cleveland has been dominating, I think, the offensive boards.
They've been doing very good on the boards, yeah.
And a lot of that's like Tristan Thompson's just, he's not like an elite player or anything, but on the boards and his tenacity and ferociousness, just getting rebounds and his positioning is really good. And he's been getting a lot of rebounds, a lot of second chance opportunities for that team. So if you're Golden State, you have to limit that. How do you do it? I don't know. Does that mean you keep a guy like Bogut in and have a guy like Draymond Green always down there? Maybe. You probably have to if you're going to want to stop the boards. And then my second one is kind of coming off of that, is you still got to get out and run. Despite the slower pace through the playoffs so far, they actually have scored more fast break points per game, I believe, than they did in the regular season, which was still, I think, among the best, if not the best in the league. So if you got to stop their offensive rebounds, and then that helps you push. And it's kind of nice because you have a guy, again, Draymond Green is actually so versatile in what he's doing. Is when he grabs a rebound, he'll just turn and he'll start running up the court. Which for a guy that might be playing the power forward spot, his guy doesn't always turn and run with him right away. So that is kind of nice that he can get out in front and then lead a break. And he always tends to make the right decision as well. And then the third thing, yeah, you mentioned LeBron. I don't want to hit on the same thing. Let's see. Because obviously you got to contain LeBron. You got to make sure your guys are. Third thing is going to be bench play, because looking at some stuff, I'm reading something right now. It says that the Cavs outscored their opponents by 12.5 with LeBron on the bench, which is actually really good. Obviously, you put your star on the bench and you're still outscoring your opponents. A lot of that probably due to JR and maybe Dellavedova occasionally. If you're the Warriors, you got to make sure that your bench is better than their bench, because it has been all season. But like I mentioned, before we got started, is the Cavs have been playing really good. So the Warriors should probably make sure that when their stars are off the court, namely Klay Thompson and Steph Curry are off the court, that they don't allow the Cavs to either pull away or to catch up and make it like a closer game than it needs to be.
That's those are obviously all pretty crucial points. So with that said, let's kind of go into Cleveland's some 3 keys to victory. Since I started last time, I'll let you start this time, and that way I won't have to steal them.
One, winning the turnover battle by a big margin. That's, despite how good Golden State has been, they do have a tendency to turn it over, get a little loose with the ball a little bit. But Cleveland hasn't been forcing a lot of turnovers, so I expect them to kind of ramp up their defensive intensity, make sure to get some extra turnovers, limit the number of shots that Cleveland State puts up while also maximizing their amount. The way they play defense is going to be interesting. I'll say, for one, where you're going to hide Kyrie might be a key.
You betcha.
He's going to be out there. He doesn't do a great job with the screens, with screening, which obviously Golden State does a lot of offensively, and they'll even do some weird screens too, where someone like Klay Thompson will set a screen for Curry, or Curry will pass it and then set like a sort of moving screen, for Thompson on the backside. So, how much Kyrie can give, especially defensively, is going to be going to be important. And then LeBron James making some shots. The guy's shooting like 16% from three in the playoffs, which is just terrible.
It's been terrible.
And then, the step back, longer range twos, he's still only shooting like 33% from there as well. So remember when the Spurs in the playoffs a couple of years ago basically just sagged off him, and they basically dared him to shoot. And for the first, 3.5 games, it worked, and then it didn't. And then the Spurs ended up losing that series, of course. Jesus Shuttlesworth, Ray Allen, 3-ball kind of helped that series out. But, yeah, LeBron's going to need to find a shot. Otherwise, they're not going to have enough weapons, I think, offensively to kind of keep up.
That's fair. So my keys to Cavaliers' victory, gotta play really good defense, especially on Golden State's outside shooters with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I mean, you got to get a hand up in those guys' faces. If you don't, they're going to knock down the open shots. The Cavaliers, to be fair, have played pretty good defense throughout. I just think it's a really big key to make sure you can test jump shots. There has to be someone there. You can't allow any open jumpers, or at least as few as possible. Another key to a Cavaliers victory for me, you kind of touched on Kyrie. I think a key is going to have to figure out something to do with him defensively. I mean, you couldn't have hit on that better. I mean, they were able to hide him against the Hawks and some against the Bulls, but they're not going to be able to do that against Golden State. That team's just too deep. So obviously, I have to figure out something to do with him. And then the other key for me is instead of LeBron shooting threes, he's got to just barrel down and just drive into the paint. I mean, he has not been hitting his outside shot at all these playoffs, and he's obviously been producing some really big numbers. And in my opinion, he needs to just continue attacking the paint, attack the rim, kick it out to open shooters or semi-open shooters in this case, because Golden State does play pretty good defense, and they're just going to have to knock them down. But I kind of named 3 keys, and they all kind of piggybacked off yours. So I guess if I had to think of one, I mean, Cavs to win this series, they're pretty much going to have to play perfectly, and they're going to have to hope Golden State probably isn't as good as they were in the regular season. I think if those 2 things happen, I think they stand a legit shot to maybe be able to win this series.
Seems like, unfortunately, playing perfect and then hoping the other team also is not perfect. Probably not a recipe always for victory.
No.
Do you have any X factors? I mean, I think I have.
I do.
In my head, who you're thinking.
I got an X factor for you. All right, so the X factor, the one guy that can hit big-time shots, and he has throughout the whole playoffs for the Cavs, and everyone makes fun of him, J.R. Smith. If he comes through and shoots another 8 for 12 from 3-point range in the game, I mean, that's huge. And he's been shooting really good from 3-point. He's actually been contributing on defense. I tell you, he seems to have bought in with what the Cavaliers are trying to do. And I tell you, I mean, there are guys that are heat check guys, and Steph Curry's probably arguably, he can just get hot and there's just nothing he can do. But J.R. Smith is right up there too, believe it or not. And I think if he can contribute and has one of those games where he goes off, maybe even if he has, 2, that could be enough to give Cleveland a real chance to maybe even win this thing.
That is who I had in my mind as well. So, I mean, I think if you wanted to pick somebody else too, obviously LeBron and Steph and Klay are the 3 guys that the other teams are probably going to focus on. It's the strategy of you just let them go off and worry about limiting everybody else, or you just try to contain them by helping a lot. And if you do that, obviously it opens things up for everyone else. It'll be interesting to see how Cleveland plays Steph and the way that they do their pick and roll defense. So I'll say obviously the goal is to get the ball out of Steph's hands, so it's got to be in someone else. And after how much he's improved this season, I think a guy like Harrison Barnes could be a guy that's going to have to step up, and he did against the Rockets. Basically helped them lead them to victory. I think he scored 24 in that one game in 9 straight when it counted. So he's a guy that he doesn't always need to have the ball. His efficiency or his I think like the number of shots and how many minutes he's played haven't really gone up from years before, but his efficiency has really skyrocketed with Steve Kerr and this new kind of offensive system. So I think he'll be the X factor for them, given how I believe that the Cavaliers are going to try to play Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, get the ball out of their hands.
Sure. That's a good X factor for Golden State. So I guess that leaves us with our predictions, and I guess I will go first.
Well, do you wanna delve deeper into any of these other topics we've mentioned? Like, if you want, how much help do you send at LeBron if you're Golden State? Right? You singling him up, you're doubling him when he gets it in the post. What are you gonna do with him?
I'll spend at least the first half of game 1 and see how it goes. But I would like to give Draymond Green the opportunity to guard LeBron one-on-one. And if it's not working, then we'll change it up, and then we'll start having to double team him, which will result in someone being open, obviously, for an open jump shot. But I feel like Draymond Green's good enough defensively that he at least has earned the right, I think, to try and contain James by himself. That's what I would do.
I would tend to agree with that, especially because I'm not super afraid, especially if Kyrie isn't, healthy Kyrie. I'm not really that afraid of everyone else. Obviously, Love's not there. I mean, they've obviously done well. They've made it to the playoff with a 12-2 record in the East. They've got other guys that can be there because LeBron, like you mentioned, hasn't always been great in some of these games. But he's averaging damn near a triple-double, I feel like 30 points, like 10 rebounds, and like 8 assists or something. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, Draymond Green was defensive runner-up, and I got Harrison Barnes will probably play a lot on him as well. Who's got the length and the strength to kind of contain LeBron a little bit. Maybe not as good as Draymond, but I still expect them to go with Harrison Barnes just because you need Draymond Green on someone like Tristan Thompson or whoever else is probably going to be Del Low just for size purposes.
Do you think Harrison Barnes is really going to stop LeBron James? Come on.
I didn't say he was going to stop him. I just said contain him a little bit. Stop LeBron most of the time. The only person that can do that is his legs and his jump shot, really. So I think that'll be a good matchups depending on who they stick on LeBron. And obviously I think that's going to depend too on what the Cavs do with their lineup, depending on who's going to guard him. If they go small ball and they put LeBron at the 5, I'm sure Golden State has no issue saying, okay, Draymond, you guard him down low at the 5 spot. Harrison Barnes, you guard whoever's playing the 4. Iman Shumpert, I don't know who they would stick it there.
What's your crunch time lineup?
For the Cavs?
For both teams.
For both teams, crunch time lineup. I'm probably in crunch time taking a guy. Depends on what position I'm in. If I need a guy that's going to get rebounds, I might leave Bogut in.
It's close. We'll say it's a close game. Crunch time, it's close.
Maybe I want to take Bogut out and bring in one of the other guards. Because I imagine with the Cavs that they'd want, is they're going to have a defensive guy. Shumpert is probably going to be in there. JR, Kyrie, LeBron, and Tristan. So
I actually think if I were Cleveland, I think I would take Kyrie out. I would take Kyrie out because in crunch time, and this happened in the Hawks series, LeBron just guards whoever the best player is. So LeBron's going to guard Steph, which will be fun. I'd like to see that. That'd be fun. Let's see. And then Shumpert will guard Thompson. I just am not sure who I should put at the 3.
Are you going to bring JR in? Have Shumpert be the 3?
Maybe Shumpert guards the 2. Yeah, and JR guards Klay. And since JR has actually been playing pretty good defense, especially for him. And then Tristan Thompson at the 4, and I don't know, do I put Mozgov in at the 5? If it's close, that would give us rebounding opportunities. And Mozgov isn't a liability. The nice thing is, actually, in this whole series, we shouldn't see so much of the hack of whoever, because all the big men in this series are actually pretty decent free throw shooters. I guess I can't speak for Bogut, but I think Mozgov's like a 70% free throw shooter, which is pretty good for a big man.
Certainly better than what Golden State was. Basic last series. Those guys are terrible. Yeah, that was the worst.
I think that's what I would do, though. If it was my crunch time lineup and the game's close, I think I would do.
So you're basically subbing in Shumpert for Kyrie.
Yeah.
And keeping everything else the same.
If Kyrie was healthy and he could play any defense, that would be fine. But with him being so hobbled, I can't take that chance. I can't allow someone just running around open. It's gonna
especially
end bad.
This team. Yeah.
Especially this team. That just can't happen.
And like you said, you're trying to find a spot to hide him. And it's like, okay, you can't hide him on Steph. You can't hide him on Clay. You don't want him getting boxed up or posted up by Draymond Green. So you really can only probably try to hide him on, my X Factor, Harrison Barnes, who still doesn't play a lot of minutes, and he's not like necessarily a high usage guy, but I don't know. It'll, at least in those situations, it'll free LeBron up or whoever.
And then
Harrison Barnes normally.
From the Warriors side, I mean, if I were to go with that lineup, then I think if I was the Warriors, have Steph, Clay Thompson, Draymond Green, Barnes, and Bogut.
Basically, just their starting lineup.
I think so. Or I'm just trying to think in my head. So, because with the lineup the Cavs have, LeBron's going to dribble the ball up anyways. So Steph's not going to be on him. So I assume I want Draymond on him. The only thing is, if for some reason Draymond happened to be in foul trouble, the nice thing is I could just put Iggy on him, and he'd probably do all right defensively against LeBron. He's not as the same player he used to be, but he's still pretty good, especially coming off the bench.
Which I think has been a big factor, too, is him understanding that role, and that's what it takes. A lot of guys, sometimes when they get relegated to bench duty, don't always play it well.
You're former All-Star, he's been on Team USA before. He's obviously a really good player. Sometimes it's hard getting guys to buy into that role.
Definitely.
I said my lineups. What are your lineups?
See, if I'm Cleveland, I don't want two big guys in Tristan and Mozgov on the court at any time, because if they run a pick and roll and they switch, which I would expect them to do most of the time, especially if Kyrie's guarding it. I guess if LeBron is, because Kyrie sometimes gets lazy. He either runs into the screen or he goes under the screen, which you're not doing against these guys. That's just a terrible idea. So if you have Kyrie out there and two bigs, I think your defense is really screwed. But in your situation, you didn't have him out there, so that might help a little bit. I still think if I'm Cleveland, I opt for the extra offense and bring in maybe a guy like Delly or somebody that's going to give me an outside threat for Mozgov or Thompson. Doesn't really matter which one. I'd probably keep Thompson in there.
Just because of offense.
Just for offensive rebounding purposes. And then I'd just bring in a shooter. So I'd take out one of the bigs, bring in another small. And I think that actually helps the defense a little bit too, given the way Golden State's offense would run the pick and roll if they kept the bigs in. I'm probably going to take Mozgov out, and then if I'm Golden State, it's basically the starting lineup, but I'm probably taking out Bogut and inserting somebody. It depends on what I need. Either Iggy or Livingston would be the fifth guy.
Okay.
Both are long. I mean, you got either way. You're bringing in a guy that's 6'6", so if they run some sort of pick, you can switch. They'll both be able to Livingston probably not, but Iggy would be able to stick with LeBron, I think, a little bit.
Oh yeah,
And they don't bring a ton offensively, especially Iggy. Now he's not shooting threes really. He does occasionally on 2K when I play with him, but other than that, he's not like a reliable shooter, especially
no,
anymore.
he's not.
But either way, I think that'd probably be my lineup. You get some defense in there, and you still get the nice matchups. It'll be fun. I think though that Cleveland's bench overall is just shorter.
It's not as good.
So I mean, they got probably 8 guys that they play a lot. And I can't believe how much like I said the other day, Delhi was signing autographs at the mall, and there was a line going out the door. This guy, he's like some sort of cult hero or something now in the Cleveland area. So I don't know. It'll be fun either way, especially if the Cleveland can play the type of ball that they have been playing in the playoffs so far and late in the season. I think some of that credit does go to, Blatt, who is much maligned, but at the same time, especially because offensively, I don't know if any of the players in Cleveland wanted to run whatever sort of offense he was bringing in. But halfway through the season or especially in the playoffs, the defense stepped up, and I don't know if that was just the players getting it or if he switched some things up, but I think he probably deserves some of that credit for how well that defense is, especially because of Love and Kyrie's injuries. Maybe that's, again, helping them.
Kyrie's injury probably isn't, but Love, it's not like he's a defensive stud. And if anything, the way Thompson's been playing, if anything, they got tougher, I feel like. See, God, there's something I was going to say. Oh, we kind of forgot. So there's a guy on the Cavs that I guess could have been an X factor too, and James Jones, who comes in and makes threes.
That's true, and I think that's something that it always feels like that's what people say LeBron needs around him, is some guys that are going to open up the lane so they can't clog it on him and give you good spacing. Troubling part is either way, the way that the Golden State Warriors rotate defensively, even when they send help, which they may or may not do a lot of, as we talked about on LeBron, but the way they rotate is so damn efficient. It's like they all move at the same time, and they're really, in sync with each other defensively. And I think Kerr's brought that with. And then offensively, they got everything going too. So were they the number 1 team offensively and defensively?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be good. I think it won't be what happened last year in the finals. I tend to forget.
Last year, the Spurs won.
And like easy, right?
Yeah, it was pretty much no contest. I mean, yeah, it was bad.
Do you think we see the same sort of thing?
We could. The one thing you could say though, about the Cavs versus that Miami team, the Cavs team is definitely younger. I felt like the Miami team was pretty old all around. And now these guys are quite a bit younger, so it could be ugly though. Are you hinting at we should make our predictions?
Maybe, if you're ready for it. If you got other things we could talk about, I'm down for continuing the conversation.
Well, you know what? If something unfortunate happens where Dellavedova dives at someone's legs and it happens to be Steph Curry, that could be an X factor in the series.
You mean he didn't dive at his legs? He dove for the loose ball where Steph's legs happened to be. Obviously, that's what would be happening.
You know how angry people would be if Dellavedova injured Steph Curry?
If he injures one more person, I swear to God, like, I don't know, there'll probably be like a bounty out on that guy. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, how Giannis ran down the court, basically tackled that guy and got ejected.
Oh, yeah, he got ejected. It was Dunleavy.
It was Dunleavy. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did the same thing to Delhi if he happened to get in some sort of other little situation where there may or may not have been some questionable tactics and play on his part. And I don't expect him to be able to win many fights. Maybe he would. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd love to see LeBron cry about it, though, and say that it was probably as a basketball play that he made. I don't know what these guys are so upset about.
Yeah, Brett, it was a basketball play. What are you so upset about?
I'm not upset.
So, I guess we'll get to our predictions here. So I'll go first. So as much as I would like Cleveland to win this series,
why would you like this?
Because I picked them to get. I made it this far. I would kind of like to. I think, and people are stupid, but I'm gonna be stupid when I just want to talk about it quick. So if LeBron loses again, it's gonna put him down to what, 2-4 in finals. Everyone's gonna come crashing down on him, and I would just rather not like to hear it. And so I would kind of like Cleveland to win, but honestly, truth be told, Golden State, they were the number one team the whole year. They go really deep. They got the MVP of the league this year. He's hungry, wants to get that title. That team seems like they're hungry and they want the title. They played through the much harder Western Conference.
I will say, too, that I think it was nice in the playoffs for them to have to go
Stiffer
through some of what they do that and what they had to go through, especially at the end of games. Because you mentioned, like, during the regular season, was it like a third of the games?
Yeah.
Like they didn't even have to play the fourth. So for them to actually have to play full fourth quarter games, I think is actually going to help toughen them up. You know, I know that's like a sports cliche, and I generally try to stay away from those, but I think it actually helps them a little bit in this series. So you can. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I that was a good point. I completely agree. I think so. This is the way I see this playing out. I see Golden State winning Game 1. I actually see the Cavs winning a game. I think Game 2. Which will be in Golden State again. I think they're gonna figure things out, and I think they'll steal one on the road. And then the next 2 games, I think Golden State will win, and then I think Golden State will win both and Cleveland, and then I think the Cavs will get 1 after they've lost 2 at home, and then Game 6 will be the game that ends it. And I think. I guess if I'm thinking that, it should almost go 7. But I'm picking the Warriors in 6 based off that ridiculous logic that I just spat out. That doesn't make any sense. I'm picking the Warriors in 6 though, and Steph Curry will be the MVP of the NBA Finals.
So you got them winning in Cleveland in Game 6, which I'm glad that they don't have that 2-3-2 situation anymore.
Yeah.
I think that was usually was that earlier ones, or did they do that in the finals? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
But yeah, 2-2, 1-1-1 is a much better situation, I think. Yours actually sounds, last series we I think disagreed on both who would win and how long it would take for the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. And that's not out of the ordinary. We tend to disagree occasionally. This time, though, I think we're in agreement. And it sucks because if you're Cleveland, you haven't won a title, I think, since 64.
That's no reason I want Cleveland to win. In my heart, I'm picking with my head, though.
And it'd be nice, like you said, I talked to a guy at work, and the only reason he wants Cleveland to win is just so LeBron and the city of Cleveland can get a title, and then we don't ever have to talk about that again, and it doesn't matter anymore. He just wants to get that out of the way, and he's like, Warriors, they're a younger team. They can they'll be back next year, I'm sure. They'll have, a lot of their, most of their key pieces, though. It'll be interesting to see because Green is a free agent, right?
Yep. He's going to get the max from someone.
So it'll be interesting to see how that lineup truly does, or if he decides to stay. I mean, money is enticing, winning's enticing. Everyone's got their own sort of things, but as a guy that has been making a lot of money in his young career so far, he might opt for whoever gives him the most.
Yes.
Of course, if you're Golden State, you just go over the cap. You're winning titles. It's okay. up the charges for season tickets. But yeah, I tend to agree. I think it will be a 6-game series.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sweep.
Oh no, I almost predicted that last year too. Now I think about it, and I almost did it for them last year. So I almost kind of want to go 5, but I think with a guy like LeBron, you're not going to go for what to get a tip. I don't think. And how well they've been playing. It's not always, who's been the best team all year. It's kind of who's playing the best now, which is why I think the Cavs can steal a couple games. They've just been playing really, really well. No reason to think that they won't continue to play well. But this is one of those times where, the best team all season actually is going to make it through the season and I think be a champion.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I think. Would be nice to see the small market team get a title, though. As someone who lives in a small market.
Yes. And who roots for a small market. Of course, I don't know, I don't think we don't have a star like Cleveland has.
No.
So we'd have to model ourselves more after, and it's not really like small market, but they don't get treated like a big marketplace either. Atlanta, in terms of how they build their team. Not necessarily getting a bunch of free agents, but just having a bunch of really solid guys with great X's and O's coaching. That's about as good as we can hope to be, is the way that the Hawks have been playing this year.
Yeah, and hope that we can retain our good players.
Right. Hopefully they're good, but not so good everyone wants to offer them max money.
Or that we just decide to offer them max money and they hopefully stay.
Or that. They stay and they mature. Because how many times have we given some guys money in Milwaukee and then they ended up
like Ilyasova?
Yeah.
Or Larry Sanders?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, at least Larry Sanders isn't on the roster anymore.
That's true. Also, so I think that does it for our NBA Finals preview. We do have something posted up on our Facebook page, too. It's just the news about Cam Newton getting his new deal, 5-year, $103.8 million, $60 million guaranteed. So if you guys want to hit us up there, we could, have some discussion again on our Facebook page for something other than what's going on our podcast.
Definitely. Otherwise, next week, probably do some recap of the finals games that have been on so far, and we'll probably have, I don't know, maybe we'll do some odds and ends news that's around or something. But yeah, it probably won't just be NBA talk next week, so we'll hopefully bring in some other topics, maybe some things around the NFL or whatnot.
Hopefully. Yeah, because OTAs start, right? So
they did, yep.
Guys reporting, and again, we'll probably have some sad news. We'll also have news of guys who are breaking out and apparently doing really well, even though it's OTA. So who knows what that'll entail later in the season. But it's always fun to talk about regardless. But until then, see you guys next time.